Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. And if you're like me, you are excited about the release of Season 3 Stranger Things coming up this week. I'm pretty excited myself. I have been catching up and rewatching Season 1, Season 2. Got some great deals on this. I love the collector's edition of these as well. I'll show these a bit later. But I also discovered recently some of the tie-in novels and comics in the Stranger Things universe, and I thought it would be good to go ahead and celebrate the week by doing some reviews of these. Some of them are good, some of them are crap, but we'll go through and take a look at them. So I want to go through sort of chronologically, in order, sort of, I guess. I want to start with Stranger Things Suspicious Minds by Gwenda Bond. And I had ordered this one online, but it wasn't coming. It got held up and, being shipped to me. So I went ahead and listened to it on Audible. And then I received the book. And I went through and marked some places in the book and everything and read through some more. This book is, Gwenda Bond is just a god-awful writer. Let me start with some of the good things, because there's basically one good thing. The idea that it does take place, it really does take its cue from the series. In the first season, when you have Chief Hopper there going through the old newspapers and you see the pictures of Dr. Brenner and the MK Ultra people who he was experimenting on, including, who will later find out to be Elle's mother, that is, it really does take its cue from that. And it really does take the people pictured in that image and make them characters and whatnot. And so that's good. The other thing is, this is the backstory of Dr. Brenner first meeting Elle's mother and starting out these experiments, and then bringing in the candidates and how he, found out Terry's mother was pregnant and eventually, kept Elle. Because you know that from the seasons that Elle's mother sues Dr. Brenner for stealing her baby and stuff like that. So it tells that story, but you already kind of know that story, right? The only thing it adds to it is it does add the idea of Callie, or number 8, Elle's quote-unquote sister that she finds in Season 2. That always struck me as a little bit random, just watching the series, watching Season 2. It struck me as like, wait, this is kind of coming, it just felt like a little bit of coming out of nowhere, especially when her mother finally brings Elle there. Her mother's sort of comatose, but her mother's communicating that there was this other girl. It seemed a little weird. It seemed like, shouldn't the mother, really just want to spend or be so enamored that she's finally got Elle there with her, but that she's really focused on this other girl. Well, this book kind of puts that in perspective and kind of justifies that. The fact that Elle's mother never was able to save Callie, that young girl, from the lab. So that is something, it's some unfinished business. It's something that stuck with her. So it does make sense now. Season 2 makes a little bit more sense when her mother would, try so hard to communicate that to her. So that's the good of the book. And that is it. Everything else about this book is so typical SJW drivel. It so is. You've got your main characters. Your main characters in this book are a team. You've got Terry, Elle's mother. She's the victim, right? She is the quintessential victim, the one who everybody tells her how strong she is and how stubborn she is and independent and whatever, but she's the victim. She has a boyfriend who's a complete and total, yes dear kind of character, just whatever it takes to support you. She meets up with these friends who are all experimented on as well, and it's the typical, rainbow of representation for the SJW. You have the African American woman, the tomboy who's not conforming to the gender constructions of what women should be. Then you have the gay man, and then you have Terry, and they're all here together, and it's like, oh my gosh. It's poorly written. Besides all that SJW nonsense, it's poorly written because these main characters, they have no flaws. There's no flaws whatsoever of these characters. They're just victimized. Bad things happen to them because bad white man, patriarchy man of the government does bad things to them. That's it. There's no flaws with any of them. It's ridiculous. So that's crap. Then it tries to bring in it tries to do intertextuality. If you remember me talking about intertextuality before, that's when one piece of art refers or references another piece of art in order to help you understand it, to kind of piggyback on some of the themes and some of the meanings of that other piece of art. Stranger Things, the series, does this a little bit. Sometimes it's more just doing references, cultural references, because people, for nostalgia's sake or whatever. Well, this book keeps bringing up the X-Men comics. And that makes sense, right? X-Men, were being written in the day, because this takes place in the late 60s, 69, 70, when Terry would have been experimented on and everything like that. So the X-Men comics are a thing. And then Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is like the big book that Terry's boyfriend loves and everything like that. But instead of any kind of cool intertextuality, instead of any kind of cool referencing, back and forth, the X-Men, these mutant subjects, people with powers, instead of anything cool like that, this is the kind of garbage that the book does. This is, let's see here. Okay, at one point they go to a Halloween party, and Terry and her boyfriend dress up as Frodo and Sam, and her boyfriend exclaims, "She's Frodo and I'm Samwise Gamgee, from my favorite books." Well, that's crap dialogue anyway. Who says, "From my favorite books"? No one says that. You'd say from Lord of the Rings. "I let Terry pick, and she made me the sidekick. But I don't mind being her sidekick." Of course, the guy has to be the side. That's ridiculous. If it was just one little thing like that, sure. But once you get the philosophy of the author down, and you know what kind of garbage they're just trying to push in there, it takes you out of the story. What is this? This is another part. All right, here's another part when they're mentioning Jean Grey. So, Gloria, the African-American woman, is a big fan of the X-Men comics. And we have to hear this. Look, Jean Grey as the telekinetic Marvel girl was her absolute favorite character. Maybe someday there'd be a Marvel girl who looked more like Gloria, but for now, she'd make do with Jean. This is like a Marvel comics writer's wet dream. This is just ridiculous and nonsense. And then again, we have here, they decide to band together and try and take down this experiment because they realize things are going wrong there and stuff like that. And they realize the things that, Callie is being kept there and whatnot. And they decide that they're going to band together and call themselves the Fellowship of the Lab, kind of referring to the book. Well, that's fine. That's cool. But then you have Alice, the tomboy, say, "If we're the Fellowship, I want to be Galadriel," she declared. Terry got up too. "Galadriel isn't in the Fellowship." "I don't care," Alice said. "There's not many women to choose from in the books. I want to be Galadriel." Shut up! Keep your shit politics out of the story. It's a crap story anyway, because you don't give us compelling characters. It's all about how they feel about each other. There's literally a line in here. I neglected to pull it out, but there's literally a line where Terry gets the group together and she felt a surge of affection for these strangers around her that... Do something! Do something! This book does not need to be this long. There are a few little things they try at the experiments, and that's cool. Some of them fail, some of them work, but the thing is, you know what's going to happen. You know how this turns out. They do save one girl among them, which is, I guess that's something, but you know how it's going to turn out because you've seen the series. This is a prequel, and it holds little to no... it doesn't really add anything extra to the mythos, other than explaining and kind of justifying the idea of Callie there and such. It's garbage. It's not a very good book at all. I do not recommend it. I said that I listened to it on Audible first and picked all these things out. When I finally received the hard copy, they've got a picture of the author in the back. Oh, that's just shocking. No one saw a green, blue-haired feminist coming from from this, did they? This was just, that book was garbage. I will say, just to end, I'll cover one more thing in this video, so I'm not ending on something, two things horrible, because some of these tie-ins are really good. The comic series from Dark Horse Comics, a 4-part comic series. It's by Jody Houser. That's going to be a deal breaker for some, which I completely understand. She was one of the people attacking Richard C. Meyer back in the day. But the story's actually pretty solid. It's just a 4-part comic story, and it's about Will's experience in that first season when he's sucked into the Upside Down. So he doesn't remember all of this when in the second season, but this is really his story, and it coordinates with the events of season 1. So he's going through and trying to contact people, and it tells you the story of how when he actually calls his mother on the phone, how that works, how he's able to get through, how he's able to make the lights, and he's communicating with his mom with the Christmas lights. Later on, when Jonathan and what's her name, Mike's sister, are sucked into the Upside Down for a brief moment, and they have their little adventure there running from the Demigorgon. It actually has Will in there too. He's like part of what saves them and everything like that. So this is actually a really solid and cool 4-part comic series. It's very quick. It's fast paced. The art's great. You really do have the likenesses of the characters for the most part, so it's perfect. This was a lot of fun. Again, Jody Houser on the comic cover is going to be a deal breaker for some. I totally get that, but you know, if you're just into a good story and you like the idea of a Stranger Things tie-in and some more of the universe, this is actually pretty cool. It tells the story of Will's experiences during the Upside Down, so that was great. And that's what I'll end on, these two. I do have some more to cover, which I'll do in another video. There are another couple novels that are tie-ins, and then there's another comic series that just started. So I'll get to those, hopefully before Season 3 of Stranger Things is released, but if not, I'll do so shortly after it's released. And that's all for now then. So if you're rewatching it, have fun like I am. I'm rewatching the first 2 seasons because I really do enjoy this story and the world that the Duffer Brothers have created out of all this nostalgia and references and just a great adventure, great cast, and great story. So that's all for now, but until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.